I'm Puerto Rican. I'm pretty sure that I'll talk loudly as the time goes on. So thank you so much for having me this evening. I'm very excited to be here today. Before I begin, I have a CEO who was very clear that I had to make sure I talked about the mentoring partnership in New York and Long Island before I started. And as the ops person with an aggressive vision for the next 3 years, I'm happy to share that with you. But the mentoring partnership in New York and Long Island has been in existence now for over 20 years. Right now we serve over 400 programs that serve over 57,000 children across New York City. Essentially, we are the place that helps on the ground to make sure that children get the services they need from their mentors and from their programs. As you know, one of the things we're trying to eradicate is the dropout rate in New York City and Long Island. And so we believe that one of the first things that an individual, a young person needs is someone to help guide and foster the curiosity, the passions, and sort of the skills that they have within them to the next level. And I'm sure you would imagine that there's somebody who's been in your life as a mentor who's done the same for you. So in order to do that, there is some complexity, however. There is the informal things that happen in a mentoring relationship, and then the very formal things that need to happen for us to make sure that there's impact. So it's not rocket science, but if you put all the right elements together, it can actually reverse some of the things we find hinder young people and professionals from being able to be successful. So I'm sure that you have a wealth of experience. I'm not here to teach you anything. I'm here to allow you to do two things today. Be present in the moment to make sure that you're sure about what you know for sure. And then to leverage that so that this young person at the end of the 6-month experience not only has a dynamic relationship with you, but also will look back and say, you know, it was that person that really put me on the yellow brick road, right? And so believe it or not, there's some intentionality in making that happen. So we do this every day, at every level. I think one of the greatest gifts that I have is to be able to talk to the executive on the ground trying to eradicate the issues in the community and the mentors who have stepped up to do the most amazing thing that you could ever do, give of your time and of yourself to make a difference. And so we do this every day. And it's sort of fun. So the idea here is that you have a little bit of fun, that I loosen you up to get you ready for your mentees. So that you can start to really foster a healthy relationship over the next 6 months. The other hope is, as we're guiding the chamber through this process, in the 6 months completion, what we would like to see happen is that you've actually had impact and that there's measurable outcomes. And so part of my job is in the back end of this to be able to help them guide all of you to be able to measure that and give forth what it is that we truly have accomplished in 6 months. So it's very intentional, because the only way you're going to take this to scale is if you do it right at the micro level, so that we could do it right in the scale. Okay? Fair enough? That is enough from me. This is an all participatory session, because I am not the expert. You are. So let's start with the basics. Let's think about who was your first mentor in your first job, and tell me why you thought that person was a great mentor. What did they have? Sorry, I know I'm not supposed to move, but I gotta get a marker. This is an open book test. Please feel free to cheat.
They had a genuine interest.
The other thing I will caution is that I have non-teacher penmanship and there is no spell check.
Okay.
Who else?
Patience.
Patience.
Perspective.
Excuse me?
Perspective.
Perspective. Come on, you guys. You got successful by yourself. Please give me that formula.
Guidance.
Guidance. What type of guidance?
When young person starting out and still trying to figure out what is it that you want to do, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
do this whole self-analysis of what your next step is in your career.
I love that self-analysis.
I think it's challenging as well. The one I'm thinking of is very challenging.
Challenging in the sense that you never wanted to call him back or her back.
No, in terms of challenging everyone that you can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. So you're challenging them towards success.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Got you.
Insightful.
Insightful. Tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, it's actually linked to perspective, but basically that it's able to see through when you're looking at here, they see from
Right.
here, so they help you see it.
And that's so important because I can't see for myself what's available to me quite
You don't
yet.
know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. Absolutely. Anything else?
I think sort of sensitivity in the sense that they put themselves in the shoes.
Yeah.
Remembering that, how they went through this process themselves.
Yeah. Key, important. Anybody else? Say it now, forever hold your peace.
Willingness to share experiences.
Say that again.
Willingness to share their experiences.
Yes. What type of experiences?
Their own.
Uh-huh. All good?
Good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
An important one to me was the guy was brave, to tell you things that you don't want to listen.
Okay. So, I don't want to listen to you. I don't listen to my parents, even though they're giving me sound advice. How do you make that happen?
I think that, when you are the mentor, you don't have an incentive to tell the guy things that he doesn't want to listen,
Mhm.
So you need to be brave enough to say,
Mhm.
look, I'm going to do this. I know that it's going to be disruptive. I
Mhm.
know that you are not going to like it, but this is the way to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be brave to it's confrontational. It's nobody likes that, particularly in certain cultures.
Yeah. It's almost like brave feedback and criticism, right?
Yeah.
You have to have the strength to do it, and you have to have the tact to deliver it, right?
I think that's the difference. I mean, with parents and with a mentor, because you normally say, well, your parents' experience doesn't really apply to me
Right.
because I'm different. I'm a new generation. Whereas a
Mhm.
mentor, something you look up to
Mhm.
because you have more respect for a mentor. Someone who's within professional field and you admire. So there's a sense of admiration in a mentor, or a concept of or element of admiration that it makes difference with than compared to a parent.
Yeah. And I would say that when you look at the research, and there's tons of folks who have done research, we are completely research-based in the mentoring space. Our national organization actually makes sure that every outcome we have has a correlated action that's research-based. So one of the things that we realize, regardless of age of the mentee, is that your vulnerability, the sensitivity, your ability to know how to deliver criticism and feedback, right? These things are more the things that you need to make sure you have stored in your own back pocket. These are the things that you have to be exhibiting at all times. And one of the things that they found is that admiration is something that's earned. So although we think, well, if I want to become CEO of the company, and I'm talking to CEO of the company, that would naturally equal to a healthy, some type of interactive mentoring relationship. And a lot of times what happens is that the level of intimidation from the mentee's perspective and their inability to see themselves completely in that path and trajectory actually helps trump all the other things that have to happen in a mentoring relationship. So what I will say to you is that you're going to get this. In 6 months, you already have it. It will be the thing that's in your way for now. And in 6 months, it will be the thing that will say, this is why I am who I am, right? So you're going to have to navigate this piece in order for these pieces to get you to where you want with the young person, okay? So one of the things that I think is critically important, even in the feedback piece, is making sure that your expectations of that relationship is realistic, right? Because you're not, even if you see their potential, you're not going to make them the next great CEO, even though if you see it, right? And it's not going to happen right away. Or you're not going to see in the 6 months the outcome that you expect for them. They have to sort of get there. So one of the things you have to figure out in this process, which is critical, is how you're going to negotiate those goals and expectations as you go along. But the most important component of the mentoring relationship, I will tell you, it's the hardest thing about this job from your perspective, is you. And how you calibrate the perception of your mentee and how you decide to do kind of these soft skills that I know you all do very, very well, but almost do them intentionally all the time, right? And so that will determine your success. Not rocket science, right? Pretty simple, but you gotta practice it. Not so simple. So let's talk a little bit about, I'm gonna move you along because I know we started late, so. I'm sorry, I'm a technology person. I only use my notebook to pretend. So one of the things that I really think is important is when you define that mentor-protege relationship, I think one of the things that you first have to think about is you're developing a relationship. Get to know the person that you're talking to. You want to know what's really happening at work? They have to have some type of connection to you. So one of the things I was talking to Sandra and Gemma about is, oh, they have their bios. That's great. If I am 19, 20, 21 years old and I saw all of your bios and they said they're pairing you up with that person, how would you feel at that juncture of your life, right? There is excitement, but there is sort of this intimidation. And so making sure that in the process you become real first. This is what tonight's about. You have to be who you are. The authenticity is what will define the relationship. And then from that, you sort of figure out all the other pieces. But the development of the professional aspect of that individual's career will not come without the intimacy of the connection of the relationship. So I'll give you an example. Research has shown what goes sour in the chemistry of a mentor and a mentee, that they weren't able to match them according to likability. So this is the one place where opposites will not attract, right? And so when you're trying to figure out why isn't this relationship meshing, I will promise you it's because there's no common ground. So one of the first things that you have to do in this relationship is find the common grounds. And what we're hoping we're doing in the next 40 minutes, more for them than for you, is getting them ready to sort of gear up. What do I want this person to know about me so that we can find that common ground and then be able to lift from there? It's not hard, but if you don't do it, it will fall apart pretty easily, right? Impact. A relationship that lasts 6 months is really important. That's the marker of where impact begins in a mentoring relationship. A year, you'll stay together forever. Together, quotation marks, right? So what does that look like in those 6 months? Dosage and frequency, right? So for example, when I think of my mentor, who's very busy, and she has a full-blown schedule, and I feel very embarrassed sometimes to say, can I have 15 minutes of your time? Because I know it's like 15 minutes for her is big. But every Monday, you know, for the last couple of years, it's always been a date. At a certain time, we have a phone call. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, doesn't matter where she is in the world, doesn't matter what she's doing. Those are my 10, 15 minutes. Because I anticipate that phone call sometimes, I will analyze a certain situation and know that I can't knee-jerk react because I probably want to pass it by her, right? And so, and we've been friends forever. But for a young person, knowing that they have some type of consistency will help them be able to rely on your relationship for the guidance and support that you truly want to give them, right? So you can be that intentional with the dosage. If you're free-flowing, people become less committed, most especially in the beginning. After the next 6 months, it's easier to free-flow it. The first 6 months, I would say, be intentional. Try to make it every other week. Make that sliver of time for that person, and put some rules of engagement of what happens if I want to talk to you outside of that time, right? Things do happen. I would love your feedback. It's hot off the press. But you also don't want them to call you when it's hot off the press in their head. You want them to process situations a little bit. And so make sure you lay some, groundwork around what that looks like. We have a standing meeting. There are times you can get on my calendar. Here are some reasons why I would love you to be on my calendar, so that they have some parameters. But at a minimum, twice a month, go all in. Be present, okay? It's going to be that consistency that then will allow the vulnerability you want from the mentee towards you to say, I went to work this morning and I did this. And then your reaction will elicit exactly how I'm going to proceed the next time when I decide to share something with you that I may have thought was good or bad for that matter, okay? So timing, dosage, how you commit, how you're communicating is going to be critical in this process. So, and I think you have to be very intentional with that, okay? The number one thing when you look at even medical schools, for example, that are trying to mentor a very specific type of learning, whether it's research, neurology, something that there's hardly any other person in the world that could teach me that. The ones that were most successful, the feedback they got from their mentee wasn't, oh my God, I learned so many brilliant things from this amazing person and da 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 da. It was that they were present, that they were consistent, that they got great feedback, and that they had understood who they were as an individual, and that allowed them to understand the work better. And so all those things are so not about the content of the work, right? So we have to make sure that you have some of those pieces in place. Can I talk any faster? I will test it now. We talked a little bit about the intimidation factor. I think that it's going to take a while to sort of break that down a little bit. I think that people are very courageous. I think that they will react a certain way. And I think young people by and far are very confident and will put all those walls of confidence up. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're truly sharing their experiences with you. So you have to make sure that over time there are things that happen that really get you into those important conversations that you need to have. Okay? So one of the exercises that I want you to do, because I know that this is always difficult for me to do, so I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to pair you up and you're going to do a listening exercise. So here's your challenge. Are we even here? No. Good, Anna. You'll be somebody's partner. Fabulous. This is my mentee, my intern mentee for the next 4 months. So if I haven't done a good job, she'll let you know at the end of the session. So here's what we're going to do. One of you is going to be the talker. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Anna's your partner.
Okay.
Number 1, you're the talker for 1 entire minute. A challenge or a problem you've had this week, this month. Explain the scenario to the person for 1 entire minute. Listener, you do not get to talk, ask questions. You must listen and acknowledge. Maybe an really, wow, that happened. Please don't use that cadence. They will not believe you're listening. But somewhere along those lines, okay? Then you're going to switch positions. Remember how you're feeling in both of those ends, and then we'll talk about what that means to everybody else. You ready? Find a pair. We did 1, 2, 1, 2.
All right.
So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and you're with Anna. Go for it.
I'll go.
preocupar no quitarle a nadie.
Okay,
The regulatory environment is tightening significantly, and so the revenues.
like that. That's the last minute. I asked them to be yes. I asked them to be the
All right, let's talk about your experience when you are the talker for a minute. What was that like? To be the one that had to talk.
Stay focused.
You had to stay focused. How hard to do? How hard was that to do?
For a whole minute.
The whole minute, yeah. The whole 1 minute thing is a big deal.
It feels long.
It feels long, right? Okay. What else? When you were the talker.
You're concerned if the other person thinks it's interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably that's most
Yes.
So it was not interesting.
Affirmation is important, right? What else is going on when you're the talker?
You feel relieved.
You feel relieved. Yes.
You want to make sure that you're not going off on some tangent. Sometimes you
Yeah.
get passionate about something and
The
you might not have a
famous-
common theme running
Yeah.
through what you have to
The
say.
famous tangent. I love
Right.
that. It's like, oh, that's not what I really wanted to tell that person, right? What else?
You're hoping you're being relevant and you're not going into too much detail or that you're at the right
Okay.
level.
right amount of information.
So let me ask you a question, and this is friendly feedback in this room. Did your listener do a good job? Oh yeah, really? That happened to you? Or did they give an opinion, affirmation? Did they do any, ask a question?
Mine fell asleep.
Huh?
No, just kidding.
That what?
No, mine fell asleep. You know,
Yeah.
I had to wake her up.
You have to wake her up. So talk to me about being the listener. How hard and how easy was that?
Easy.
For a minute, it's not too hard.
For a minute, it's not so hard. Explain that.
Even I can focus for a minute.
How hard or easy for you was to maintain a level of openness and non-criticism in the process?
It's easy.
Okay.
That wasn't hard.
How eager were you to wanting to ask questions?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask more.
And you had a whole list of them, I'm sure. So one of the things that happens when we're dealing with young people or folks where we're in the position of authority sometimes is the listening part gets kind of intertwined in our forever need to ask the questions. Because many times we're anticipating, most especially if you have experience with certain work-related issues or life issues, your first impulse is to, oh, been there, done that. Here's what you need to do, right? But if you do that, you don't validate this process that this person has to go through. So one of the most important things in that is to try to restrain till they really have given you all the good nuggets of the story, the question asking portion of it, right? Because it's in that complete story and that person's being able to deliver it to you in the way in which they've planned in your mind. So imagine all these things that you're feeling, this young person is feeling before they get on the phone with you. Should I really tell them that happened in my desk yesterday? How do I explain this story? Do I go off on a tangent? I can't tell them that I did that, so I'm going to say it like this. I'm going to say it like that. So I've planned, and if you're a process person, you know what I'm talking about. You have planned this conversation in your mind. So you have to figure out how to be able to listen through and then be able to ask some of the critical questions. And the critical questions, here's the big zinger. And we would have done this for longer, it would have been a lot more fun, but I'm short for time. So just promise you that if you spend a half a day with me, you'll have a lot more fun with me. The big zinger to the listening process is, are you asking questions that help me or help you? Are you asking me things that help me sort of determine and analyze the experience I'm going through? Are you asking me questions because you're trying to figure out the hierarchy of the company so you can navigate? So you're all the way over there, and I'm trying to live right here, my reality, right? And I think that's the hardest part of the listening, questioning process. So I would say in your time, be intentional, completely intentional on how you're going to listen and how you're going to provide sort of that questioning process. Most especially in the beginning, because like everything, you know, if you get your hand slapped, you're not going to do that again to get your hand slapped. So if you elicit unintentionally a reaction that provokes some thought on the mentee's end, it can stymie my ability to the next time come and say, I'm going to be that authentic and honest with them as I go along. So that's the balancing act in this. What I would say is practice this with your significant others, with your children, because we think we're doing it, and you start to realize that you're not. So it is truly active listening and being able to sort of start shaping some of the questions that you're going to ask. And there's a lot of times when I'm working with young people, and Anna has been in my office, and I'm taking notes sometimes, and I'll write a question, and I'll ask myself, is that question for me, or is that question for her? And sometimes what I will tell her is, I'm really curious about this, because I've never understood it. Explain it to me. Because then I can feed myself. She knows that I'm curious about her. But I'm not interrupting her need for me to critically ask questions that will help her think about her next logical step, okay? And so I'm really intentional with that, and I exercise it all the time. You can ask my husband who pulls his hair out. Because I will tell him things like, I'm about to ask you this question for me, not for you. So just come along for the ride, all right? So just make sure that you sort of endorse that process as you're working with your young people, okay? So one of the things we want to talk about is the initial meeting. So we actually have some handouts for you in your folder.
The
Had
red
some-
one, the red folder.
Is it the red one or?
Yes, the red one.
I think Sandra printed them out for us.
Oh,
the
no,
light-
the forms,
the
no,
li-
they're not printed here.
Oh,
We
okay.
gave them to the mentees.
Okay, so let's walk through what they're working on, because I would like for you to know what they're thinking about before you get together. So think about a couple of things right now. I don't know if people ask you these things, but to be honest with you, if I ever had the chance to meet someone that I admired and appreciated, I would want to know 3 things that they like. Three things they don't like. Think about this, because they're thinking about this too. Okay? My favorite thing to do. My proudest moment. So they're thinking about this, so you should be too. Sorry for my chicken scratch. And something I'd like to learn or try in the next year. Okay? So they're thinking about these things. You should think about them too. The basis of your first conversation should be around these things. Okay? So my history high school teacher, I mastered a way to get hundreds on his test, and it was the style of teaching that provoked for us to have conversations and interactions. He has since gone to my wedding, seen my children born, he's still around. The one thing that always connects us is the NBA Finals. We both love basketball. And so the promise was that I would marry someone who loved the NBA as much as we did, so that we could make sure to share that time together. But it's that commonality, and in those exchanges, that I get my most powerful feedback, that I'm most vulnerable to say, you know, this is really what I'm challenged with, and that he continues to mentor me. It's a safe space for the both of us. And over the years, I would tell you that he's probably fessed up some things over a basketball game too, right? So this, although seems silly, this is what sort of gets you understanding. If I hate sushi and you decide to take me to lunch for sushi, that's not going to work out for us that day. I'll be focused on how to eat what I don't like.
You have
right?
a prediction for Game 4?
I have a prediction for Game 4. I think Stephen Curry is going to blow it out the box. Stephen, sorry. But only because LeBron is too tired. You can't score 200 out of the 290 points of 3 games without letting your body recover, right? I wasn't playing. So, you see? So, just like that, right? So start thinking about this. The other thing that they're thinking about, just so that you know, is things you might want to ask them. Have you ever had a mentor before? What'd you like about that person? Right there, you just cheated. They will tell you that's what you have to do. But at least it gives you a good guideline of when they're evaluating relationships, what are they evaluating? Okay, they're thinking about what they want to learn from this experience, what they want out of this mentoring relationship. What does success look like for you? So let me ask you guys. What does success look like for you at the end of this 6 months?
You asking us what?
I am asking you.
Okay.
What does success look like for you and this young person at the end of 6 months?
I have a previous question, but I thought it was
Yes.
part of Q&A. These are all people who are don't have a job right now. Are they looking for a job? Is that the situation
No.
of everyone else? So it's
Not
like the ultimate
everybody's
purpose.
like that. No.
So the ultimate
Many of
purpose.
them have a job right now, and they are looking maybe to change professionally, or they are looking to grow professionally as well. So they are looking for guidance on how to do that.
So depending on each, so the answer is there. I mean, right? I mean, if those who do not
Depending
have
on
a
their
job,
goals.
the success will be measured by having the ultimate success at least, right? Having
It's a
them get.
tangible success. It won't be the success of your mentoring relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
I think if he or she trusts me after 6 months, that would be a good thing.
If they want to continue,
We continue
if they want to
right,
continue the
right.
relationship.
And yet, but you have to figure out what that is for you. It could be something different. But the one thing I want you to really understand, when I work with people who are working with young people who are academically not being successful and they realize they're bright children, this is going to be a no-brainer. And then they only go from a D to a C, and they walk into our offices like, what did we do wrong? I can't believe that he's not an A student. He's brilliant. The expectation wasn't where he was at, right? But is it any less impactful? He went from a D to a C. He was absent 100 days last year, and now he's absent 4, right? And so you're going to have to calibrate a little bit of what does success look like for you, and make sure that you are clear that you can't rescue this person, that even if you had all the contacts in the world and you found them that job, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to keep that job, right? And so then the failure and the onus only lies with you. And what you want to make sure in this relationship, like every relationship, is that they have some responsibility and some stake in that. Does that make sense? So I just, I want you to be realistic about it. Yes, you can potentially be working with the next CEO of a company, or you can be working with someone who's going to be a great worker and just do it well and excel in whatever it is that they're going to do. And are you okay with that? Right? And so you got to get comfortable with sort of that and allow for you to be part of their discovery process for themselves, but not the person that rescues or solves their whole professional sort of yellow brick road, right? So think about what goals you want, because they're coming in armed. They've had 40 minutes of just thinking about this. So you have some good questions to ask of them. They're ready for you. One of the things that I was concerned about is you don't want to walk in and feel like it's going to be an interview, but you want them to be ready to sort of share fun stuff. Let's talk about the NBA Finals if they like it, right? And to share a little bit about what do you want out of this relationship? How are we going to work together? How often are we talking? Is Monday at 8:30 in the morning good, or is it Friday at 6. I don't know. If you discover you like ice cream, maybe it's over ice cream every other week. I don't know. But make sure that that's sort of the driver and the connector to the work that you're going to be doing. Okay? And within that, I promise, all that experience and expertise you have is going to be flooding all over the place. Okay? Fair enough? Okay. So I think, am I on time?
Yes, you are.
I have really like Q&A. Go for it. I've got 5 minutes. This is a condensed, almost 6-hour training for you, so it's super condensed.
6 hours in 1 hour.
Yes.
Xavier, he made a very good point in terms of what are their expectations, you know, because it will be super helpful to understand their agenda, you know. I was reading this profile. I'm in love with this lady because I've been in the Himalayas, he's in the education field, so I'm already in love. But my point is, it will be great to know more about their agenda and the role that they expect us to play. You know, because I can be there, you know, can play the grandpa role, like, been there. But I think that you need to make your own mistakes, you know, you need to. So my point is, you have the experience, what's the role that you suggest us to play here?
I really think that you have to become the guider, the supporter, the cheerleader, and not the resolver. So you love her profile, get to know her more. Get to know, you know, what makes her click. Talk about the work. Talk about the work they're doing. Talk about their aspirations. Are they getting closer to that? What are the barriers to that, right? Because there are some universal things that happen for individuals. Fear, right? It could be the paralyzing factor of moving forward. How do you sort of navigate? What does fear look like for that person? It might be that they kind of ram through things, or it might be that they get completely paralyzed. So this is about sort of figuring out where do they want to be, and you guiding them through the process. Because like they said, if they come equipped with the job already, they're really looking for someone to help them design their motion forward. And there are 2 things that you can do in life. There's the active participation piece of talking, but it's also what I'm doing with Anna right now. I'll figure out at the end of the summer if it worked out. Hannah, there's this great event and you have this opportunity to be around the table and see me do my work. She might come out of here and say, I never want to train in my life. Never want to do that. Is that horrible for me? Probably. Is it great for her? Sure. I helped in that discovery process, right? So I would say it's not about telling folks what to do. It's helping them along the journey of their career. Right? And that's a huge thing. So let's pare it back. Get to know that person. If you like her on paper, I bet you'll like her in person. Like her.
One of the things that you mentioned is that it tends to be younger people. It's like when I look at this profile, it's probably
Impressive.
like.
In your case, she's not that young.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Is
People,
that?
No, it's not
common?
bad. It is common. You know, I've had some of my best mentors come later in my life. My dearest mentor is 80 years old. I met her when I was, 22, starting my career.
I think she's older than me.
It's okay. I mentor my mentor all the time. You can ask her. And you know what? Sometimes it's about having a thinking partner in life.
Okay.
So one of the things that I really value sometimes is when people pick up the phone and go, I just need someone that I trust to help me think this through. I'm about to do X, Y, Z. And this is what I'm worried about.
Okay.
And if you know me, you know that you're going to say, I wouldn't do that. Or you're going to say, I think that's right for you. Why are you afraid? Go for it, right? So I wouldn't be intimidated with the shift. I actually find people further along in their career, much older, saying, I never had a mentor. I need to find one. And they're actually looking for younger folks who are more technologically inclined, who are sort of in the know, because they think they're out of the know, and what they realize is that they're a lot more in the know than they know. So you'll be okay. Now this is about fit and chemistry. And you'll figure that out.
How were these people selected or where they come from? And did we leave people outside of this program because of lack of mentors? Or I mean, it's a question for you probably.
That we did in-house. I selected the mentors, so that's why I knew that, but I'll tell you later. And yes, we have many mentees that, following her just suggestions, she recommended us to have a program with between 15 to 20 mentors, no more than that, so we could handle it. So we have 17 mentors here and 10 mentors in Washington. So yes, we have many mentees that do not have a mentor right now.
So how do they learn about this program? They sign up or not?
We send it to our entire database, information about the mentoring program. We sent it to the J1 visa holders, and we sent it to the MBA list students that we have.
So this is a program that could go on for
Yeah,
decades.
I mean, this is the first
right?
time
because
we
there's
do
probably a lot
it.
of
This
people.
is 6
You go
months, and then we
anywhere in the
continue.
city, you go to Ernst & Young right now, or anywhere that's doing mentoring programs, they have something called a waiting list. And when you think about, across the United States, if you look at the demographics, at least half of, 13 million children still need and want a mentor or some type of adult figure in their life. And if you look in your folders in the mentoring effect study that we did, you'll discover that most people went through most of their life without a mentor. And so the need and the desire to have one as an adult is just as palpable many times.
You can have more than one at the same time if you want.
No, you cannot.
It's advisable to have only one.
It is advisable to have one at a time.
No, because I said,
Baby
He requested two, in fact.
No, I said I'm happy with two because in practice I have,
I didn't know.
I'm a lawyer and I have
She
lawyers
told me, I
coming
promise.
by, just all the time. So I do this, unstructured, but I
Yeah.
have done it before,
Right.
so every so often. So I think I could handle two, but now that I know it's every other week, maybe one is fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, that was what I asked her. I said,
Yeah.
the frequency and intensity, and she's like, well, I said, two is fine. Any other questions?
Yeah, what are the next steps here? I mean, they could be coming here and
Yep,
we're going
I'm
to meet
gonna
all
go over
together,
there. You're
but
gonna
there will be
be
no
all
one-to-ones or anything for now,
Yep,
right?
you're going to do a one-to-one with, this is your initial meeting.
Oh, okay.
And your initial conversation. They've been getting ready for your conversation. It's important to have an initial meeting where people feel comfortable. The idea is after this that you figure out how you're going to.
I was going to say, do we have a glass of wine before the honor?
Yes, you can
honor
do
wine?
it. Make sure that you start thinking about. Make sure that you start thinking about what does frequency look like for you, what's important in your schedule, and how to negotiate that. So for the end of this session today with your mentee, you should be able to have a conversation around these things. So they should know about you, right? Secondly, you should ask them about the questions they filled out, their expectations of your relationship. Put some parameters around your timing and what you would like to see happening, and listen and try your best after you do those two things and have taken some mental notes to try to organize when your next meeting will occur and what the frequency and dosage is going to look like. Be honest about your expectation of the relationship, that they come in a professional manner every time that they show up, that, the first 15 minutes will be about how we're doing as people, and then we'll get into the work stuff. Don't forget the fun in mentoring, because no one likes a mentor that doesn't like to have fun.
And they've learned who their mentor is going to be.
They just
they
have
learned
your
today.
resume.
Okay.
So they are scared and shaking in their pants right now, nervous.
They have our resume.
Have you looked at that?
I gave you my resume.
We took it from LinkedIn.
So the only housekeeping I will ask you is I will send you a SurveyMonkey link with 4 or 5 simple questions. You can respond so that we have them. We can share them with the chamber. That's my housekeeping on the other end. If your company is interested in developing a mentoring program, working with young people throughout New York City, we're on expansion mode. Right now my charge is to bring the Long Island and New York offices together, become independent from our national affiliate, and go statewide. So I am all about trying to resolve the more than 60,000 kids around the city that don't have a mentor, and they're looking for people who are in your companies. We have direct research that shows that staff who is in a company committed to mentoring young people have greater morale in the workforce and also have greater loyalty to their companies. And there's direct research for that, so I can share that with you as well. So please stay in touch with us. You will see us with some level of frequency. You have our support through the next 6 months. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.